go. Welcome to Crickleman's Radio. We are back with little Dave for another great, wonderful episode. It's going to be 60 degrees in Virginia. I am pumped. I am
Super nice here today already too.
coming off a sickness that Dave gave me from across the country. Um, how long ago was how long ago was that for you? Was it 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
remember.
I think that was 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Day before.
Yeah. So what day was it? I think I woke up on Wednesday and knew it was going to be bad. And I pretty much I was telling you, like just like you did, I ate 2 meals, did client work, and then I slept, and then ate 2 meals, slept, ate 1 meal, and then slept. And that was pretty much 2 days in a row. And luckily that kicked it for me. I
Mhm.
don't neither you or I get very sick very often. And but the one thing I think you and I do very well is I didn't train. Could I have trained yesterday? Probably. Um, but I was like, you know what? Just sit around the house, chill, eat your meals, do cardio, and then hit it Monday. And,
Yep.
you know, I always want to err on the side of an extra rest day. And you know what's really funny is I was stripping my clothes off to head to bed last night, and Angela said, "You look really fucking big and lean tonight."
Yeah.
Now, notice what I did there. I rest, slept, and I only got 5 meals in for 4 days.
Mhm.
Zero stress on my end.
Yeah.
I smash fluids, so lots of water, Powerade Zero, and Liquid IV, and yeah, and I'm good to go now. I'm gonna train back today, pretty close to full tilt. So for all you guys going out and around now, like the amount of clients I have that are sick, are you the same way with your clients?
Mhm. Yeah.
Please God, don't be stupid. Like your
Yeah.
your muscle's not gonna disappear. Where it will begin to disappear is if that 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days drags on to a month because you don't let your body heal. That's when you lose muscle.
Mhm.
Um, will you get a little flat? Yeah, you probably will. But my wife doesn't bullshit. If I looked small and teeny, she had told me to go eat Five Guys today. Like, and that's not what she said. She's like, "Damn, like this is a good look for you." So heed my advice. Rest, recover, feel better, take your medicine, smash vitamins, and eat your meals. Like that's the key to and being patient. You know, I think if anything, you and I bang on the most, right? Is like just take a deep breath. It's
Yeah.
and that doesn't matter if you're in prep or in an off season. Like, just take it with stride, man. Like, you know, I don't know what it is about bodybuilding that causes people to be like very, very married to if I don't train today, I'm getting smaller, or if I miss a meal because I chose sleep, I'm losing muscle. Just take a deep breath, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's your superpower is you don't get twisted. I mean, what was it, a couple weeks ago you went into the gym, did a couple warm-up sets of bench press, and then you said, "Nah, I'm gonna come back to this tomorrow."
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, while you're there, do some mobility and recovery work, and then get the
Yeah.
fucking don't waste the gas of driving there." Like, and then you post that video of you slamming 180s on the incline. Like, so many people would have probably just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna find a way to get through this," and it just wasn't the right answer. That's like
Yeah.
just take a deep fucking breath. Like,
Mhm.
if and I think that's maybe why you and I or can do that is we know that the muscle we have built, we will have to intentionally remove. It's not going to
Mhm.
fall off
Mhm.
because it came from eating 6 meals for over a decade. And when it was time to do our work sets, like they were done with purpose,
Mhm.
where our physiques and again, I might catch hate on this from the internet, but our physiques weren't drug built. Drugs helped, but they aren't drug built, and there's a
Mhm.
big difference in that. Um, and I know you bang on that drum as I do. Like, there's a reason most people can't tell if we're on or off,
Yeah.
cruise and blast, whatever you want to say. The only time people know that something's different with us is when we're all the fats off. Hey, your face is sunk in. No shit. So, you have anything to say on like sickness or rest, recovery, taking a deep breath? Like, any thoughts there?
I mean, always takes experience, like that's we do live in a world where we want the answers. And a lot of the times, like I can't tell you how many times I've trained when I shouldn't have,
Yes, agreed.
but you do that once and you learn a lot.
Correct.
So like, you don't have to be like, all right, I'm going to take a rest day because, something stupid came up,
Mm.
but take notes of like how you feel when you go in there. And it's like, like if something's up, like, okay, you have to, you're training, but your meal was 3 hours ago but you have intra carbs and you go in, you still have a good session. You're like, okay, cool. That's not an issue. But if you do the same thing, let's say you felt like shit, you're like, okay, I know for a fact I need to eat quicker, less, like, in that less than 3 hour window.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just going to be a learning experience because, whatever you read on paper, it may or may not apply to you as well. And just, I mean, I've trained with pneumonia. I was a fucking dumbass. I've legitimately done that. I was like, man, I feel fucking sick. And I drove myself to the hospital, and the doctor was like, well, you have pneumonia. And he's like, how'd you get here? And I was like, oh, I drove. And he's like, can you call someone to pick you up? And I was like, I'm not doing that. But he's like, yeah, you have like 10% of your lungs is full of water. He's like, you could die. And I was like, oh, fantastic. And that's what I felt. But those training sessions were straight fucking garbage,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And that just took him out of like, obviously, like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But, we're not always, thinking of that takes experience, you know?
And that also takes the understanding and maturity to learn from it.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to repeat that again.
No.
I'll give a great example of that. I remember going in on a Thursday to train with Alex, and I could tell like something just wasn't off. Like, you eat your meal and it kind of sits heavy in your stomach. And I couldn't tell if I had like a light fever going or I was just like hot and then I get a cold chill. Like it was really fucking weird. And I remember looking at him when we started and it was a leg day. And I was like, listen, we're going to barrel through this bitch and I'm going to figure it out. By the time we got to hack squat, like I knew it wasn't good. Like my knees had never hurt me to that point ever. And they were starting to feel weird. And I was like, fuck it, just put my wraps on and throw another plate on. So we worked up to 8 plates on the Nebula hack squat. And man, everyone felt like you were just stabbing my quad tendon. Like, and like I'm just gonna say, fuck it. It is what it is. If I can do 10 reps and move on, I'm good. And that next 6 weeks, my knees killed me and ended up getting full-blown sick the next day. Like it just wasn't smart. And I
Yeah.
knew it from exercise one on. I was like, I just don't have it today. And if I'd have been alone, maybe I would have just dialed it in. But I was like, fuck this shit. I'm not setting a bad example for him. Like, we're gonna get through this thing. Like, let's roll. And again, I will always say this: the only way I will learn something like that is to go past, like, to redline in a bad way.
Yep.
And again, that's why I always think like it's winning or learning. And I learned in that moment, like, hey, if you feel those sensations, food's not sitting well, kind of feverish, joints don't feel great, just let me get the fuck home, man. Like, or I could have got up there and rode on a bike for 10, 15 minutes, hung out with him. I didn't have to train. Like I could have literally just trained him like a personal training session and
Yep.
walked out. But young and dumb, I was in my late 20s and learn your lesson and move the fuck on. Instead, I had to deal with 6 weeks of fucking knee pain because I thought I was hardcore. And
Yep.
there's nothing hardcore about that. My legs got smaller in those 6 weeks. Well, maybe not
Yeah.
smaller, but they didn't look good. And every leg session felt terrible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 6 weeks versus one day. That's not a hard bargain,
fuck
you
no.
know.
Yeah.
But like we said, sometimes you just got to learn the hard way,
Yes. Yeah.
And like, I will always vote for, like, if I'm in doubt, I'm gonna take a rest day, just because
Yeah.
at this point, like where I am at, that's better for me. When I was 17, that's you could not get me out of the gym. And I'm not saying like that we're all going to be perfect creatures like that, like, but it's just one of those. But it just goes into training too. I mean, like, I can't, like, we've all done stupid stuff as a teenager, which if we did now, I'd probably die.
Right. Yes.
You know, our bodies are a little hardier when we're like 17ish to 20.
Right.
But when I mean, going in those rests, I mean, learning from you can learn from experience, and you can learn from watching someone else do it, right? And sometimes like it might be the better option to learn from someone else doing it.
Yeah.
So
You know, that's always the interesting thing, right? Because like I think the bigger we get, the more we realize that muscle is hard to get away. Like
yeah,
where when you're young, you think your body's way more fragile. And it's like, oh, well, I just got to 200. If I don't train for a week because I get sick, I drop down to 190. Okay, well, that's just fucking water, man. That isn't 10 pounds of muscle that went away.
yeah,
As soon as you eat your meals for 3 days and you train a couple sessions, you'll look right back to normal for the most part.
yeah,
And that I think just speaks to like being mentally fragile and being so tied to I don't want to be skinny again and I'll do whatever it takes to not be. And again, you and I both appreciate that because we've been there. Um, which leads me into kind of an interesting thought I had when you were speaking is, you know, the thought process I find with guys who are natural versus enhanced are flipped, right? Because all the natural guys will say the reason the juice heads are so big is because they have improved recovery and muscle protein synthesis, which is correct. But they'll be the same ones who are like, man, we got to train everything twice a week. And I'm like, those two statements don't align. So you're saying we're over here with enhanced recovery, but we're training less, and you're over here with diminished recovery and training more.
mm,
Explain that to me. And you can't logically, in my mind. Um,
mm,
I've seen so many guys who are natural training 6 days a week, and I'm like, how are you recovering from this? Like, is the volume low? Is the intensity low? Or is the intensity low? Or is both low? And maybe that's why you're not growing. It's like
yeah,
some of the best growth years in bodybuilding I ever had were with John when I was natural and I was doing 4 sessions a week. And I remember looking at my training partner and being like, man, I couldn't do one more session if you wanted me to. Like we were so beat to shit because we were just training our face off. So
yeah. Super true.
yeah,
I feel like that's always the missing. You know, I don't ever understand how you can go in the gym and just do robot reps
yeah,
and leave. I just don't understand it.
no,
Like, and it's something that you can go in any gym and like fucking pay attention, and you'll see people doing the same shit every day, week to week, year to year,
yep,
and they look the fucking same.
yep, yep,
And then you get a couple people who you're like, these people are lifting, and that looks fucking like they have a branding iron stuck up their ass because
yep,
they're in pain, you know.
yes, yep,
And year to week to week, month to month, those guys are you're like, wow, this guy's making changes. He's getting leaner, he's getting bigger, you know. And year to year, there's differences,
yes,
you
yep,
know. And it just blows my mind. It's just like this is obvious, you know.
yeah,
Like it's the amount of effort you're going to put into something, not just like we've talked about this before. Just going to the gym doesn't mean anything. Like you're not guaranteed a thing,
no.
you know.
I- that mindset to me is always very elusive of the showing up as half the battle. Like no, no. I guess on the other side of that coin, maybe I'm just so excited to get in there and lift weights that I can't envision going there and just cruising through shit. Like the only reason I think I'm okay with it the final week before the show is because normally I'm pretty tired.
Yeah,
And it's as simple as that. And I've even been guilty in those weeks or that final week of doing too much before the show because
yeah.
you get in there and you start feeling, listen, you're the king of that shit. You're like, hold my fucking Sarah stem, bitch. Like, yeah. Um, there was one session that Chaz got on camera where I watched it back and I'm like, why was I okay or thought this was okay to do this much volume? And he's like, I remember you just keep looking at me saying, man, my pump's growing. So why would I stop? I feel too good.
Yeah,
Stupid as shit. But again, I'm not speaking back to the learning experience, right? Like it, yeah, I think I just get too fired up to weight train.
yeah,
And I can tell you this, a lot of times when I'll get a master's competitor or a guy or girl who's been stuck with a coach who has them training a certain way for really long periods of time, when I change their training, they get so fucking fired up to work out again. And they're like, man, I have new life in my program. And it's like, well, no. Yes and no. I just gave you a reason to fall in love with lifting again. Like, and if your current program isn't doing it, anyone who's listening, like, there's nothing wrong with changing it. Like, nothing, zero. Because I think you and I've said this 1,000 times, a passionate training session will beat one that's perfect on paper done at 60% or 80%. Like,
Mm.
you and I have done stupid shit in the gym at full tilt and it's worked because it was 100%, not because it was approved by PubMed study 4076.7. Like, fun fact.
Yeah.
I believe in my heart, you could put you and I in a gym or a fucking room somewhere with a 60-pound easy bar and a band and say, y'all go train arms. And we'd walk out of there with a fucking pump. It may not be perfect, but like, yeah. And it's because we're like, what do you want to do? I don't know. We'll do some push downs with that band, some skull crushers, and then we'll just curl until we can't move our arms, right?
Hmm. Yeah, band push downs,
Right.
skull crushers.
Is there something we can dip off of?
Yeah.
Like, fuck. Or no, I saw that Instagram reel where like a girl was standing on his a guy's arms and he was doing skull crushers with her body.
Yeah.
Like, we could fucking figure something out, man. Like, I don't know. It's uh, I really challenge everyone listening right now before we get into our topic is like, instead of obsessing about the perfect plan, how would you just obsess about the perfect set? And the perfect set is when the bar stops.
Mm.
And then repeat that 10 to 13 more times.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Like, I wish I had more knowledge to give other than that. But once you figure that equation out, you'll find that a lot of other things are pretty meaningless. And then I would challenge you next to look at like exercise sequence and selection, and then you're onto something. And
Yeah.
that's assuming your meals are right, by the way. If your meals aren't right, that's probably step one. Um,
Yeah.
or step two behind effort, one of the two of those.
Yeah.
But let me ask you that question. That is so fucking construed in my mind. Like, if you had to fill out a pie chart for order of importance, where would you put the three being training, nutrition, and rest?
Well, without training, everything else is meaningless,
Yeah,
in my opinion. And then the other two, they're just this like it's like a chess game. Training is always going to be king,
yeah,
and food's going to be, queen. And food does a lot more than the king does,
yeah, yeah,
right? But the training is the most important thing because, well, we all know this. Go eat 6 meals of chicken and rice and say and in a surplus and
yeah.
don't train. Like you're just going to get body fat.
Right. Yeah.
Your body doesn't have any reason to build muscle.
No, no.
If you eat that in a deficit without training, yeah, you'll get leaner
Mhm.
and you'll hold on to muscle better.
Yeah.
But without the stimulus of the entire fucking reason you're doing it, that food doesn't have any purpose to go build muscle.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like, to me, on the flip side of that, something that you and I have always said, if you give your body a reason, you can get more food down. And the reason is hard fucking training.
Yeah,
Like, it, and I realize that sometimes people get really construed by that because they think, oh man, I just hammered my legs. I'm not hungry for an hour and a half after I train. Right. But then pay attention to that time after that anxiety and stress wear off. And then tell
yeah,
me how your appetite is. I
yeah,
bet you cannot eat enough
yeah,
if you can keep your eyes open. Like,
yeah. Well, I think that's like the really fun part about when it comes to training, because I mean, we can talk about overtraining all you want here, but I honestly don't think it's happening as long as you can eat enough.
yes.
And that's where the problem happens is because, like, if I was training every body part twice a week, 6 days a week, I probably would have to eat 9,000 calories a day to sustain that.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where we run into problems because my body's going to start saying, fuck you to all this food. It's not what it's this. And then I can't recover because I don't have the food. I can do the training,
Yes. Yep. Yep.
but I could probably hold on. I could sustain that food for a little bit, but my body's going to start like, and that's where the real fun genetics come in. Actually, I like everybody talks about muscle building genetics. How many people talk about like your ability to process fucking food genetics?
Right.
Like I'm Justin Harris. Actually, my buddy Brad sent me this, but
Mhm.
it was his off-season diet from 2005,
Mm.
and he had 4 meals of 12 ounces of flank and 12 ounces of carbs, and then he had 3 meals of 60 grams of isolate and 100 grams of maltodextrin. And it's like that was his off-season diet. I would love to see anybody try to put this down
Right.
without the training he was doing.
Oh yeah, because it was tons of volume.
Yeah.
And they wonder why he was so round and bubbly, right?
Hmm.
Like no one wants to speak about that because it's not easy. 12 ounces of flank 4 times. Tell me how your teeth feel after a month of that. Like, yeah. Shelby
Yeah.
had me do 10 ounces of flank twice a day, and that was no joke. Like
Yeah.
that was hard to get down. With, if my memory was right, it was 2 cups of rice, so 74 grams of carbs. Um, and it worked. I definitely got strong and big, I can tell you that. Yeah, it's
And that's what I'm saying is that line between your food intake and training
yeah,
has to be together. Because if your training's up here and your food's down here, you're not going to recover.
right.
So if your training's sky fucking high and your food doesn't match that, there's no way you can recover.
I can tell you this a lot. I see a lot of guys in the gym who they aren't getting stronger, they aren't getting bigger, but they're still training pretty hard. And I always think you're under eating. There's no other choice. Like enhanced or natural doesn't matter. Like if you constantly say the same and lift the same weights, something isn't adding up, and it tends to be food. Like that's what I've always found. Um,
Yeah.
because and you've been in a perfect case study of this shit. As long as I get your food into a surplus, and it doesn't matter if it's a lot or a little, your training always goes this way. Always. And that doesn't matter if you're on or off. So, something for everyone to consider out there. If you are struggling to eat your meals, train harder. But then if you just, what you heard Dave say is if you train harder, you have to eat more food.
Yeah. So that's where so that actually makes a fun point too, right? So if you can't eat your fucking meals and you're training 6 days a week, your food's fucking high. Bring that fucker down to 4 days a week.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, now your training went from here to here and your food matches it,
Yes.
you
Yep.
know. Oh, well, now we can make progress again.
I think that's something else that people miss with my coaching is I always have your food lower on off days, and that's for a reason. It's so many people get that twisted, right? They think, oh, well, I'm not training, so Chris just wants me to not eat as much because I'm not burning as many calories. Honestly, that's not it. It's I need to give your digestion a little bit of a step back so that I can pound it when you train hard. I want to get you on your off days, in my mind, in the off season, you should always be hungry. Always. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do that opposite. They feed their clients up on off days and feed them a little less on training days. And I'm not saying that's not effective. I know lots of guys got big doing that. It's a Chad Nichols approach or a bastardized version of it. Um, but I've always found it works better on the inverse.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, it always really depends too when you train and how that's all lined up too.
yeah, true.
Like if you're training first thing in the morning and your rest day prior, like you may have an argument for more food on your rest day.
At least the second half of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And versus like if you train at 5 p.m. and your rest day is low, you have 4 meals in you, and that's easy. But there's always okay. That's what makes bodybuilding fun. There's no rules here.
No. And I've always thought about this too, is like if you think about your calories cumulative for the month, as long as they were on point last month, you're net, are you ever truly in a deficit if you're on training day surplus? I think no. You know,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the net calorie of it, which is like if you listen to Chris Aceto talk a lot, that's why he really poo-poos the idea of intra workout. He's like, "Did you eat your meals yesterday? Then why in the fuck do you need intra workout?"
Yeah.
Now, you and I both are huge advocates of intra workout. I'm not saying that they're useless because I wouldn't train without mine, but he is right to a certain extent. It's like at the end of the day, to build muscle, is your body adequately fed the day before? Okay, cool, you can build it if you train hard. Like
Yeah.
so it turns into this really weird thing where it's like I know everyone gets excited. The training piece is actually I think more fun to go through because diet is boring if you get it right. You know,
Yeah.
like who in the hell wants to think about eating chicken, rice, olive oil, and an apple for fucking 15 years? Like the amount of those foods go up and down, but they never change for me. Like
Yeah.
it's nothing really sexy to talk about, where we could really get into some like really fun minutia with training and like, oh well, Chris, like we want to do a Terry's focus pull down, and then we can really talk about form and function and that. Great. But the food aspect, man, like I've had you eat the same fucking boring foods for 8 years. Just every year we try to go a little bit this way with it and keep it a little higher in the pre-contest as long as we can.
Mhm.
And do a little bit less cardio if we can. Notice I said if we can. So
Yeah. 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 That's like I think probably the funniest thing is just, there's nothing complicated about bodybuilding. It's just a matter of working. I mean, you winning in the weeds is what I like doing. You know, the stupid shit what people always forget.
yeah.
I'll be the one picking up those coins because I'm also going to be picking up the fucking coins of training hard and eating my meals. You know, but I'm going to win in the other side of things, making sure I eat all of my meals. I do all every ounce of cardio. You know, I do. You know, I make sure my supplements are taken at the same time every day. I make sure I get enough sleep. You know, I'm actually recovering. I do my mobility work.
I mean, with your update yesterday, I gave you nothing but a shitload of stuff to do before your training.
Yeah.
It's not sexy. It's not fun. You won't go into the gym like ready to do it. You'll do it because I asked you to, and you know it's for a reason. It's as simple
Yeah.
as fucking that. And you know and that's because this is the huge point I want to make here. That's because what comes out of your mouth for your action items and goals match what actually happens in your life, which for some reason in our fucking sport tends to not happen a lot. You know, I want to win this. I want to turn pro. I want to gain 30 pounds of muscle. Well, you do in that moment when you're saying it, but your actions are showing me a very different strategy.
Yeah.
You know,
That
like,
one always is. I've had clients that are like, man, I want to win an overall
yep,
goal. Check in. 18 out of 24 meals.
yep,
Had alcohol in three of those. Also didn't, I slept 5 hours.
right.
And it's like, how do you not understand this?
It's your fault, Dave. Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't understand why I'm not making progress.
Right.
Oh yeah, my bad. Uh,
You know those 6 meals you chose not to eat?
yeah,
Yeah, the overall winner, yeah, he ate those
yeah,
with a smile on his fucking face.
yeah. Yeah, that cardio you missed. You know, your how you checked in at 3 out of 5 cardio sessions. Overall winner got all 5 of them in.
Yep, yep. You know, I very much marry all of that together. It's hard for me to reconcile that in my brain because especially with training and meals, because I feel like it's just so black and white. There's no gray area in my mind. Like you either eat every gram of food or you didn't. So that's either a check or an X. It's as simple as that. Did you eat every fucking gram of rice and chicken that was in that bowl? Yes. Okay, cool. Check. If you didn't, what did you do with it? You made an active decision to fail. And the clients that I have that do that, I always challenge them. I'm like, why? Why did this happen? So instead of what do I need to do to fix this? I always challenge them and I say, how can we solve the problem so this doesn't happen again? Because you and I both know that in a prep specifically, or in the all season, doesn't matter, you make a decision to eat your meal and plan or you don't. No one in my 20 years of bodybuilding has ever put a donut in my mouth. No one has ever told me to throw my fucking food away. No one has ever told me, hey, Chris, like, you don't need that last meal tonight. You're good. Just go chill. Go get in the bed with Angela. Call it a night. The motherfucking food sitting on that counter, bitch. You got to go shovel it in. Like, so as easy as it was for you to say, I'm going to eat Chick-fil-A as opposed to my normal diet meal, the next time, if you learn from that mistake, you can make the decision not to do that negative behavior. And
Yeah.
once you begin to master that thought process, cheating is not an option.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't, if I'm looking at your photos and something seems off, I would never assume you cheated. You would have to fucking tell me that. Not everyone that I work with, I can say the same thing because
Yeah.
of their actions. Everyone that starts with me, I believe they're 100% committed despite what have happened before me. Because I'm like, if you're reaching out to me and you're paying me for service, there's a reason for that. Something motivated you to fucking get a stick up your ass and fucking hire me and get to work. You have a clean slate. But the moment your actions begin to prove otherwise, you have to earn that respect and integrity back. Like, and that's not saying that I'm judging you as a person. I'm just saying I have less faith. Where with you, I've never seen you intentionally do something off plan without talking to me about it first.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is about your personality or mine or the people who are able to do that. But I guess I've always just viewed it as when it's time to train, it's time to train. When it's time to eat my meal, I eat my meal. Like it's very similar. I think I know I've said this on the podcast before. Like there's plenty of beautiful women in the world, but I'm not gonna fuck them because I'm married and I made a vow and commitment to my wife that that's never gonna happen again.
Mhm.
It's an active decision.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the same thing with all of the decisions you make for bodybuilding,
yeah,
right? And like shit obviously happens and comes up, but like not having food prepped is not that's your fault for not having it done.
yes,
You know, that one's hilarious to me. It's like, oh, I missed these meals because I didn't prep. It's like obviously, like, you know, like we got to figure that out. You know, made an active decision not to do that. You know, it's just you didn't just wake up one day like, oh shit, all of my shit food in the refrigerator is gone. You know,
right,
someone robbed me and they stole me of my fucking rice and chicken.
right, yeah. You know, it's like when we travel for a show, right? If I know I have to be at the airport at 6, all of my food has to be made the night before.
Yeah,
Or I have to wake up at fucking 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and do all that in the morning. One of those things has to happen. And if not, I can't imagine the stress and anxiety it would cause me walking into the airport, knowing I have a 3 hour flight and a total trip of 8 hours, maybe, and I've only eaten breakfast. I'll figure the rest out.
yeah.
That would cause utter chaos and panic in my brain.
Mm-hmm. I'll
And
say,
yeah, like, and especially if you're in a prep setting, much less the off season, um, where it's the same shit. So yeah, man,
yeah.
it's
I mean, in the off season, doing shit like that is why you don't progress.
yes,
Like,
agreed.
oh, there'll be food there for me. Oh, there, you know, I could just buy it there. It's like you're giving yourself so many bad variables. Like, oh, there'll be food there for me. Will be what I'm supposed to eat. Is it going to be, you know, like at an airport where, you know, for whatever reason, two hard boiled eggs is $9?
Yes.
Like, cool. I can get my protein in. I'm going to need 15 eggs. I do the math on that. Yeah.
Right. Right.
You know,
Or you're gonna eat one of those Snickers protein bars, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you're relying on a Luna bar for protein, bro, like good luck. Enjoy staying a fat middleweight. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, like I know it's not sexy. I know that what we talk about a lot is monotony, and that's what I hope to God we teach everyone.
Yeah.
The biggest fuckers on the planet always have a system. And even on the outside, it may look stupid to you. It works for them. And that's the one thing I've learned about anyone who has a considerable amount of muscle is they have a system, a grouping of foods, a way to prepare it, a way to pack it, a way to make it through life to where that never goes unchecked, right? And a lot of times their training is very similar. There's
Yeah.
not a ton of rhyme and reason to things, but they know the handful of exercises that work for them. They know when to step on the damn gas pedal and they know when to let their foot off. And by let off, I mean take a rest day or rest days. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think everything we talked about here so far kind of leads us into the question I had for you is that, you know, how can we teach people to be very self-aware and not delusional with not only their physique, but their action items, and then how that marries to what they need to accomplish in the future to get better. So when I'll ask you a very specific question about you personally is what forces you to always choose to eat your meals and train? Like, what does that accountability mirror look like for you?
At this point right now, it's the same thing as like brushing my teeth. And when and going, I mean, I made a contract with myself, but I wanted to do this, so that requires me to do these things. And, you know, when it comes to having a meal, it's like there's no if in this contract I wrote for myself.
No.
There is these things happen, and that's the end of the sentence. I can't tell you how many times making those things happen has been a pain in the ass. Like I've had when I worked construction, right? I was bringing fucking meals with me and eating them cold. Three meals a day were cold, and sometimes they weren't. But most of the times they were. You know, and if that's what it meant to just get my food in, it was like that's what it was.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. I kid you not. Like I don't know if that's. There's a lot of people who they have to have their aesthetic looking meals. I can't tell you how many times like that meal is like it probably looked like hot garbage,
Yeah.
but it happened. You know, and then you learn to make things better. You learn how to meal prep better. It's not so much of an issue. But the main thing is just not letting yourself, every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you just lied to yourself.
Correct.
And every lie you make to yourself, you're going to chip down that wall of accountability. And if you constantly are lying to yourself by saying you're going to do it and not following through, you're breaking yourself as a human.
Yeah.
And then as you keep doing that, all those lies where you're telling yourself, because, hey, I'm going to wake up and do cardio tomorrow morning. It wakes up and does not do cardio in the morning, right? It's easier to lie to yourself.
Great. Yeah. I always, because I'm really great at something I think is a strong suit of mine is I'm really great at observing humans. And in this culture we're in, it's so easy to do this and just sitting there and doing this. You could have done that shit on the treadmill. You could have done that while you're eating your meal. Get your fucking ass off the couch and make the decision to change. Like I, that's something I've never understood, and it maybe that's because my conviction for change is that aggressive. But it's like when I decide something, it doesn't matter if it's a Thursday night at 6 o'clock. I'm gonna do something to work towards whatever I want to choose there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I always push that upon people. It's like, oh, I gotta wait till Monday and start. Why? I'm gonna wait till after my birthday. Why? What are you waiting for, bro? You're giving yourself 6, 7, 3, 2 days. What are you waiting on? Aren't you excited for change? Then fucking begin. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be perfect. Like, just start and then
Yeah,
work your way
exactly.
through the weeds, man. Like you said, like you just have to fucking figure it out sometimes. Like it's as simple as this. Is like, man, every night I'm eating pizza before dinner or before bed. Stop it. Just don't order it. Oh, my girlfriend likes it. Cool. Order it for her. Go in there and eat fucking hard-boiled eggs and Ezekiel bread. And the next thing
Yeah.
you know, it'll be normal. It'll be normal. You'll still eat together. She eats her pizza. You eat your eggs and Ezekiel bread. Call it a day. Watch your same fucking TV show. I don't care. Like, and then when your alarm goes off, like you said, you get up and you get your ass on the treadmill. Or if you don't have a treadmill, go for a walk. But Chris, it's 30 degrees. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. Like, just do it. And it'll get warm in 2, 3 months. And that shit'll be easy. Like, and oh, well, it's training time. Get off your fucking phone, put it away, hit play on your music, and get after it. It's as literally simple as that. Promise yourself 45 to 60 minutes. And just as you said, write that contract with yourself. It- so it's such a focus with today's time about mental health, right? Do you not owe that to yourself? Because I promise when you come out on the other side, you'll be so much more clear. And all the shit that mattered suddenly disappears. You know, the fight you may have with your wife or girlfriend, the shit your boss said to you, like it'll all go away, man. I promise. And it's not because training is therapy, it's because you let your mind relax off of it. If you're constantly on your phone through your whole training session, firing emails back, tell me your anxiety isn't high.
Yeah.
You want to know how I
It
know?
blows my mind how many people have, you know, put down their weight from their set and pick up their phone and
Yep.
then do the same. And they pick up their weight, put their phone down, pick up the weight. And it's just like, man, you can't have, 40 minutes of just not using your phone,
Right. Yeah.
and it's just like, throw it on do not disturb. Like, set that boundary with other people. Like, hey, I'm going to be at the gym. Fuck off.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know, give yourself that importance of like that you yourself matter. That's what this comes down to is like, you made that you want to make change. Everything you want to do to make change is all your fault.
Hmm.
Your decision, like, oh, I want to be less fat. Okay, let's do things to make myself less fat.
Right.
It does, that's cut and dry.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground there. Like, you can try to make all those things nice and, sunshine and rainbows, but at the end of the day, it's your decisions got you here, and your decisions are going to get you out of there.
Yes. Great. It's always interesting to me because I heard a coach say one time, like if you're a coach and your priority is your athletes, you'll even answer your feedback while you're personally training. And I thought to
Oh, fuck
myself,
no.
like, okay, I understand what you're saying. Like, you're hardcore, but what example does that set for my clients? Right?
I have gotten people, they ask me questions, and I'm like, having a conversation with me. I'm at home and I'm not training. And they ask me something, and I'm like, "Are you at the gym?" And they're
Right.
like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Get the fuck off the phone and go figure it out."
Right. Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you ask me a question. Like, I get the question all the time. Hey, the hamstring curl's taken. What can I do? It's like, what machines do you have? It's like XYZ, and they're like, "Oh, cool. How's your weekend?" It's like, "Fuck off, dude. Go do what I told you." You know, like that concept is so non-existent nowadays.
Yeah. 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 Because what's funny about that is you and I both know the level of mental focus it's going to take for you to do a triple drop on the leg curl with iso holds and partials. I don't give an absolute fuck what you did the week before.
Yeah.
I don't care how your weekend was. I'm sorry. I need you to focus 100% on annihilating your hamstrings.
Mhm.
Then you can chit chat with me all you want after it's over, after the session is over, not the exercise, by the way. Because I pray to God that After you finish out on the leg curl, your mind immediately goes to, okay, how much weight can I get on the adductor and get 12 reps with it? Like that's where your brain should be going, not back to this. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, maybe I need my brother to video the entire time you and I trained together once from start to finish. There is no playing on the phone.
Yeah.
Zero, zero. The only time you and I have ever been together and the phone comes out is if I'm going to film your set or vice versa.
Hmm.
Film this real quick for me. It's as simple as that. Which is why I tend to like to have my brother there with us so I don't have to film shit.
Exactly.
Like we don't have to do nothing with the phone. The phone goes in the damn book bag and goes away. And we don't have headphones on, so I didn't like that's where I think people go wrong a lot, right? And I've been guilty of that. Like you put those AirPods in and you're listening and it's like, oh, text message from Angela. And then she says something. And then it's like, oh, work email from like turn that shit off.
Yeah.
Erase that from your brain for an hour, 90 minutes max, and then get right back to that shit. Like, by all means, go cool down and sit on a bike and pedal and answer emails and text messages. Simple
Hmm.
before you leave. Um, Anything else to add to that, man? Like, I think we've pretty adequately covered that.
Yeah.
Um, in this world of everyone wanting results, it's really easy to get twisted because of shortcuts and making things easier and these hacks or studies. And you want to know what the easiest thing to do is? Give 100% effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That's what zero studies can show. The intangible things that you have built with your mind, a study can't replicate. And the people who haven't been around the sport for a long time assume it's drugs or genetics, fill in the blank. But it's you and I both know from being around this sport for so long that rarely is yes, genetics and drugs play a factor in certain people's development, not for you or I. So I think that's where we'll end it. Until
Hmm.
next time, Chris and Dave, train your fucking face off.
Right.
Screenshot that bitch and listen to it before you train.